Hello, and welcome to You Are Intuitive, a refreshing series of conversations around developing and using intuition in the real world. I am your host, Dana Mahacek, and I am incredibly excited to have you tuning in. My guest today is a psychic strategist, business mentor, writer, and self-worth warrior for women. Through her one-on-one psychic sessions, mentorship programs, and workshops, Anastasia Holland reminds her clients of the work they are meant to do in the world and helps them do it in a way that's strategic, effective, and most aligned, based on their unique blueprint, purpose, desires, and path. Anastasia believes that self-compassion is magic, that we don't need to be fixed, but instead nurtured, encouraged, and let loose. Her work is committed to reminding you of your power and that you can, absolutely, do business and life in whatever way you choose. I see Anastasia as an upfront, honest, and relatable voice in the intuitive community, and it was a real treat to speak with her about what intuition is, who can be intuitive, and what it means to be intuitive in tangible, everyday ways. I hope you enjoy our conversation, and thank you so much for being a part of this community. Hi, Anastasia. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, everyone. I am so happy to be here.
I've heard you on podcasts before. I've heard you in your Worthy series before, and I'm just like so super excited to actually get to talk to you directly, and to just see what comes up when talking about intuition. I know you, and I trust you as a really honest, candid, tell it like it is, no sugarcoating, and I feel that everything we're going to discuss today is going to be so helpful and so reassuring to everybody who's tuning in. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about intuition and psychic abilities and all things that.
All things that. That's so awesome. I wanted to start out, like oftentimes I've been asking people, do you consider yourself an intuitive person, or do you call yourself an intuitive person? And I know with you, like on your website, it's like psychic strategist. So I know that you have claimed that for yourself. When did that happen? Or has it always been the case that you're like, I'm a psychic or I'm an intuitive?
Yeah, no. So I am one of those people where I didn't know I was psychic and intuitive. And if you would have told me 4 years ago when I was in college that I was going to be a psychic and have this business as a psychic strategist, I would have not believed you. Like, I was on a completely different track. Like, I wanted to be a fiction writer and get my PhD in English and like go down the academic track. And I had no idea that I was psychic or intuitive. But then once I started figuring out my psychic abilities, which I'm sure we'll get into, I am deciding I wanted to really start a business around it. I had a hard time claiming the word psychic. And for a long time, I called myself an intuitive healer, then just an intuitive, then an intuitive consultant, and then the modern day psychic. And now I'm a psychic strategist. So it's like, there's been an evolution. And for me, it started as intuitive because I was afraid to call myself psychic. And the more and more I did this work, the less intuitive felt like it encompassed what I did. And I kept getting the message, like, you need to take back the word psychic. Because for a lot of people, when they first hear the word psychic, they think crystal ball, lady with the shack on the corner who's going to predict
fortune telling.
Yeah, and they're afraid. They're afraid. A lot of people who book sessions with me are like afraid. That's their initial feeling is like something, they're going to get bad information, or like they're going to hear that someone's going to die, or like they're not going to get money, or like they're never going to fall in love. But a psychic session, if it's a good psychic session, and in the modern day times, I have a couple friends who do this work too, it's a complete opposite. It's like you hear everything that you need to hear right in that moment that's going to accelerate you on your path. And it's only ever empowering. And if it's information that is like sad or not necessarily what you want to hear, a good psychic's going to deliver it in a way that's going to empower you. And once I started realizing that that's what my work was doing, I was like, I need to take back this word. Like that's a movement that like we need to do, is take back this word if you resonate with being psychic. And but I was super afraid to claim the word psychic, because I was like, there's so much stigma around it. And even still, like around my family or people I see from high school or something, they're like, what do you do? And sometimes I just say I'm a business coach, because I just like don't want to explain it. But I'm
don't want to open that can of worms.
Also a business mentor. So it's like, but when I do have the courage to say I'm a psychic and see their faces and then explain it, I can see that there's some healing happening. And I'm still on the journey of claiming the word, but it was a very conscious decision, but it definitely did not happen over time. So
yeah. And I wanted to just kind of touch on that, because I feel that there is this idea or belief that there's like a spectrum, that like on the lowest end is intuition, which is like basic and not as like good or mystical or profound as like a psychic. And to me personally, there's so many ways that it actually feels interchangeable, that it's like the same thing. But I feel that a lot of people who are maybe just starting out feel that intimidation with the word psychic. It's I'm not good enough to be a psychic, or I'm not profound or tapped in or tuned in enough to be a psychic. But I really feel that it's that word has been correlated with abilities that are like put on some pedestal, but it's actually kind of the same thing.
If you're an intuitive, you're a psychic. It's all about what word you want to claim and what resonates with you. And I mean, I do think that there's a differentiation between them, but neither is higher than the other. But I do agree that psychic is like, whoa, that's like shit. And and intuitive is like a little more vague, where you're like, we could just have an intuitive experience, and people feel safer with that, like to book a session with that. They're like, oh, she's an intuitive, like I'll feel comfortable. And I want to talk a little bit, like, what is the slight little difference between them?
I would love that.
Yeah, at least for me, is intuitive, because as a psychic, I am an intuitive. Like I do a lot of intuitive work. And the only difference for me is when I decided to choose psychic was when I was really using my clairvoyant abilities. And I was really like seeing images and seeing energy and translating energy in this way that it's always dependent on my body. It's always connected to my intuition. If I did not have my intuition, I would not be able to translate that energy. But it was like I was doing something different than just operating from this heart intuitive space. And that's when I was like, I need to incorporate the word psychic. And so going back to like the difference is, I believe intuition is, it's so hard to explain, but it's,
I know. That's why I'm like, you do it, Anastasia.
For me, intuition is seeing the world from your heart and using every facet of your body to pick up information of a client's experience, of your own experience, of the collective's experience. It's so body oriented. And body oriented can mean your relationship to your body in past lives, in the future, your body in relation to time. Like it doesn't have to be just body in the now.
Mm.
But for me, psychic abilities is using more of your like clairs, and clairsentience is a part of intuition too, but it really shifted for me when I wasn't just doing the intuitive body work. I was using my clairvoyance too. And that's when I was like, I need to claim the word psychic.
Mm.
But they're so interchangeable, and it's really hard to even define them as separate. I think that for your audience, if there's someone who is a budding intuitive or a budding psychic, it's really about what you resonate with. And for me, I kind of wanted the people who were thinking about booking a session with me to be like kind of afraid, kind of like, this is different. Like this
Mm.
is
This is
she
big. Yeah.
yeah, this is different than just an intuitive. And that was like a choice. And then it was also claiming the word psychic too, because I think it needs to go through a transformation. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And my strategy was the opposite, where like I feel and felt now psychic, but I chose to call myself intuitive and to
Mhm.
put that label and that word on what it is I was doing. And it's almost not like I wanted to trick people to come in to see me, but like I wanted to make it um, feel more approachable and feel more accessible
Yes.
and just really normal.
Yeah.
Um, but I know that the work that I do, like when people come to me for readings, we go deep.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know, and this could be my own hangups and my own preconceptions, but like I want to be able to do that work with people who might not feel confident enough or like willing enough to like go see a psychic.
Yes.
I know that the people who resonate with me and are like who are coming to me, that we're meant to do work together, that we have like
Yeah.
a contract to work together. And then I just go as deep as I possibly can
Yeah. Yeah.
once
And
they're in the door.
I just want to say to your audience too, what makes a psychic not a good psychic is when they're not using their intuition, when they're not in their bodies. And so that's like Miss Cleo, who's just looking at a crystal ball and is going to like read your future. Like that's someone who's not like, she's not using her body. She's not feeling you. She's not taking you on a journey from where you are right in this moment. And that is what's so, so crucial about intuitive and psychic work. And so I think the intuition component is like almost more important, or is more important, because it's like, that's what allows you to go deep, is that ability to see someone in their body, to see someone where they're at, and to hold them in that space. That's what makes it a real healing container. And yeah, I love it. And I think I totally agree with you. I think intuitive is way more approachable, and I think that people feel safe with that word.
Mm-hmm.
And they feel like they'll be taken care of, which is true, because that, I think if you're working with a good intuitive, you're going to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
And my only thing with using intuitive where I was having a hard time was, I was like, this feels too vague. Like I couldn't like explain it to them. And I was like, I'm psychic, like, like whatever you think about that, that there's going to be like, you're going to hear things that like you didn't know you were like, I don't know. There was a sense where I felt like that captivated like something that was going to happen within our session that I couldn't captivate with the word intuitive. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I love that we're talking about this too, because it is one thing that's kind of coming up for me from this discussion is this idea that it's most important, whatever you call yourself, that you just feel in alignment with that,
Yes.
that you feel like you can own that and you can claim that. Because if it feels like, if it doesn't feel like it fits you, other people can feel that too, right? Like that, oh, this person doesn't really feel grounded or feel confident in claiming that. So if people are, beginning to understand themselves as intuitive or as psychics, the most important thing isn't really what you call yourself, it's that you feel comfortable with what you're calling yourself.
Agreed. Yeah, because it doesn't really matter. People are going to work with you if they want to work with you, regardless of what you call yourself. So it's like, I had a mentor tell me that once. I was like hung up on my website and the copy on it. And she's like, Anna, when you decided for me to be your coach, like, did you read through everything? Did you like look at my tagline? And I was like, no, I just like knew what you did intuitively. And I was like, I want to work with you. So it's like, it's really not that important, but it's more important for you to just feel safe in your container that you're creating for the world. So yeah.
Totally. And I think it's also important to mention too, that not everyone well, I believe everyone is intuitive,
Yes.
but not everyone who's like choosing to develop and grow and use their intuition consciously is going to like hang their shingle up as an intuitive. Like that might not be what you feel called or here to do. Not everyone is like a professional psychic.
No. And I always use the analogy that like we all write for our businesses. Like we all have to write on our sales pages, but not all of us want to be a writer. Like not all of us want to expand our careers, build upon that, and be a writer. And it's the same thing with a psychic or intuitive. We all have these abilities. We can all use them. We all use them on a daily basis, but not all of us want to make a career out of it. So that's usually the analogy I use for that. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah. And it's totally fine too. Like I know a lot of people that I've worked with in the past, it's almost like an idea that if you're not officially giving people readings or like charging for intuitive services, that you're somehow less than, that you're like not as good of an intuitive because you can't do it professionally. And I just want to like set the record straight that that's not true.
No, it's not true. Not true at all. And I feel like there's a lot of talk recently that you need like a bunch of psychic training. And I'm like not super into that conversation either about like, I have a lot of clients who want to be intuitives or psychics and they're like, but I don't want to go to psychic school, but like, I feel like people are saying that I need that training. And I'm like, your best training is doing readings for other people and over and over and over and over and over again, and learning what kind of intuitive and psychic you are, because we all do it in a different way. And that's what makes psychic work so amazing, is that you could see like 5 psychics in a day or intuitives in a day, and you're going to get like 5 completely different readings that resonate with you. So it's like, I think for your community or whoever is listening, is that like, if you want to be a psychic or intuitive, like practice, do your friends, do strangers, and you'll know right away if you want to continue to do the work. Like it's not something that is light and lighthearted. Like you'll know if you want to keep going. So yeah.
So touching on that theme then, how did you uncover your psychic abilities or your intuitive skills? Like, and how did you develop them? Like, did you get any training, or did you just show up and read your friends and read strangers?
Yeah. So I had a pretty big spiritual awakening when I was 21. My best friend died. He fell off a roof. It was a really sudden accident, and my entire world changed. Like I didn't understand how someone young could die. Like it was my first time experiencing something like that, and I couldn't shake it. Like my world was not the same. I needed to know where he went, and I needed to know why he died. Like I couldn't, when he died, I was really into school at the time. I was going to Berkeley and I was super academic and like on that track. And when he died that night, I didn't even care. Like I was like, I'm not going to class tomorrow. I don't know if I'm ever going again. Like I'm not going to work. I worked at a restaurant at the time. I was like, no, like I remember that night that he died, I saw him like hovering over me, and it was like this initiation of like, you're different now. Like you and Alex are going on this journey of knowing what happened. And so a month later after he died, I went to Peru, and I was sitting on a mountaintop. This is so cliche, but like I was literally.
Were you in lotus position though?
No. I was literally in this Peruvian village, and my friend and I hiked up to this like one little like hill mountaintop, and we were looking out at the Andes, and it was literally raining everywhere except for right where we were, and it was sunny. I got a sunburn. Like it was literally raining and it was sunny right in our little spot. And I remember I took off my shirt. I was just like in my bra, and I was sitting there, and I had this feeling come over me. I was looking out, and it was like this feeling of him everywhere. And it was like death. I heard the message, death is not what you think it is. He is everywhere. And it was my first initiation into energy. And then I just catapulted. I was like, once I got home, I was like digested, like all the new age spiritual information. Like I was like in it, like everything, everything you could think of. My mind was blown, like Atlantis, Lemuria, like aliens, like crystals. Like I was just like, whoa, like, and then astrology. And that was what really took me as I started studying astrology. And astrology blew my mind, because I was like, how is there a blueprint for every single person on this planet? And how is it so accurate? Like, I was like, that must mean there's some sort of pre-planned intention here. And I'm a really analytical and critical person. So I was like wrapping my mind around it. I was having all these intellectual conversations. And I went through this big phase of just preaching and like arguing with atheists. And I was like, my partner at the time was like super sciencey, and like him and I would fight about it, and like I just went through a whole phase of that. And
that sounds fun.
And then I saw and then I saw an intuitive astrologer, and she combined her intuitive and psychic abilities with reading my birth chart. And when I went to her, it was like 10 years of therapy in one session, and my mind was blown. I was like, what? Like I couldn't even understand. And I was like, I want to do this. And then I started, a lot of YouTubers I followed did intuitive work, and I booked sessions with them, and I thought it was amazing. And I was like, I just really resonated with what they were doing. And I was like, I want to try. And so I just started doing readings for friends. And then I started reading a lot of books. I read You Are Psychic by Deborah Katz, and then a bunch of other stuff. And I just practiced and practiced and practiced. And I had a brief moment where I thought I was going to go to the Berkeley Psychic Institute. And then I was like, that does not resonate with me. I do not want to do that. And I just did a lot of free readings, like so many free readings. And then I branched out into doing readings for strangers, which really rocked my world. Like that validation that I could do a reading for a stranger. I was so afraid to do my first reading for a stranger, because
Me too.
I felt like I didn't know my abilities were real until I did it for a stranger. Because I knew I could pick up stuff on my friends, like, because I knew them so well. And but just to say that, I find now that my best readings are for my friends, because I know them so well. So it allows me to go like even deeper.
Yeah.
But so I started doing readings for strangers, and then I got drained for doing them for free. And I was like, I need to charge. And so I did really small amounts. And then I started raising my prices. And then I got introduced into like online business and marketing, and I went down a rabbit hole of that. Yeah. And then I built this, I combined those two, and I kept building and building my business, and now like it's thriving and it's doing really well. But I want to say that within that whole spiritual awakening is that I come from a past of extreme trauma and abuse. And so basically when I left the man who was abusing me, I went into a life that was like quote unquote healthy. I still had a slew of problems, and I never dealt with them. And I had insomnia, I had food issues, I was a perfectionist, like could not get anything less than an A. If I got anything less than an A, I was like gonna die. And overachiever. And so that spiritual awakening, at first taking in all the information, all the spiritual information, was covering up, it was another way to cover up all of my pain. And then my awakening forced me, and doing this work forced me to deal with everything. And it has been the best and most painful 6 years of my life. So it was in no way easy. If anyone listening, like going on this journey was the hardest thing I've ever done, and it's still the hardest thing I do, but it is it is what has healed me in quotes from my trauma and my pain, because so much of my unworthiness came from not using this whole side of myself and not knowing that it was okay to use that side of myself, and not being bolstered up as a child, and not being like taught that these are gifts that I can use. And so I was missing a whole side of myself that went into just, I felt unworthy, and led me into abuse and my whole track. So owning who I am and owning every part of me, which is psychic and intuitive, is literally, it's changed my life. So I feel so grateful. Yeah.
Do you feel, I want to talk about the relationship between pain and intuitive awakening, or pain and spiritual and psychic awakening, because I see this really strange dichotomy maybe, where it's like, on one hand, there's this belief that in order to like show up and give psychic readings or intuitive readings, that you need to be healed.
No, yeah.
And on the other end, it's like, but you need to have really painful experiences in order to awaken to these intuitive gifts. So like, you're supposed to have trauma, and you're supposed to have pain to be like a good intuitive, or a good psychic, someone who's like really lived through something. But yet you're supposed to have cleaned up all that mess before you can actually like help and heal other people.
Yeah. Both. Yes. I mean,
and both no.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yes and no for both.
Yes, that is the paradigm. No, you don't need that. Anything. You don't need anything. Whoever you are right now, whatever you're going through, you want to be an intuitive, you can be an intuitive wherever you're at.
You are an intuitive.
You are an intuitive. Like, if you want to do this professionally, wherever you're at is fine. If you're someone who doesn't have a lot of pain, and you look out at these people like me who are like saying all the things that I say, which is talking about a lot of pain, doesn't mean I'm a better intuitive than you. And vice versa. If you're in a lot of pain and you look at a woman who is like, she has flowers in her hair and she's talking to lions and fairies, and like, she is just light all the time. Like, you
playing a harp.
Yes, playing a harp. Like, you can still be you are an intuitive, but if you want to be one professionally, you can be one too. So there's no supposed to's, there's no nothing. It's you are you, and that's okay. And that's what I like to preach, is that like, wherever you're at, whoever you are, like, it's okay. Like, you can, if you feel called to doing this professionally, like, you can do this professionally. And I hate the whole healer has to be healed in order to heal paradigm. Like, that can just be torturous for us who are in this field of just like going through things and then having to show up for a client and just thinking you're a total fraud. And oh my God, like, I'm a person, I go through things daily. Like, I have had moments where I am sobbing, and in 10 minutes I'm like, gotta pull my shit together and like be an intuitive. And those are sometimes my best sessions, and sometimes they're not my best sessions, but it's like, and then I have days where I'm like super on it, super connected, super like, the world is love and light. And sometimes I'm a good intuitive then, and sometimes I'm not. So it's really about the alchemy and what is meant to be said. And I don't even want to say I'm a good or bad intuitive on days. It's just like, when I feel more like on it or not. And that's just going to happen when you do any kind of work. You're going to have on and off days, and you're human. Your life is going to be your life. And it's, the more you accept that, the easier it gets, I feel. So, yeah.
And I feel that people know inside of themselves too, like, you can feel if there's a pull, you can feel if there's that calling to do that kind of work.
Yeah.
And like, I know for myself, like, every time I had a reading done, I was just like, oh my God, like, it totally touched me, and it totally had this impact on me. But I still had just so much to work through as far as like, can I do that for other people? Like, am I good enough or qualified enough or whatever enough to offer a similar experience to other people? And because I also have, did you end up finishing your school, your like degree? Do you have a degree or did you?
Oh yeah, from Berkeley. Yeah. I have a bachelor's in arts. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I also come from an academic background.
Yeah.
And I also would cry if I got less than an A.
Yeah.
Totally. I remember my first ever university paper. I got a C. I had never got a
my
C.
first one. Yeah.
Yeah, I had never got a C in my life.
I was sobbing. Like I called my mom and I'm like I couldn't even.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I lived at home at the time, and I remember like crumpling in a heap in front of the refrigerator and just like weeping. I was like, Mom, I got a C. They're going to like kick me out of university or whatever I thought was going to happen. And she was just like, oh, child, you're so sheltered.
If I could go back and tell myself like, get C's the whole way. Like
just do it, right? Yeah, it's fine. It's going to be fine.
You're going to be a psychic and you're not going to even need that. So don't even worry.
Exactly.
I'm really grateful for my education, but like, yeah. So much self-inflicted stress. Yeah.
But coming from that background, I felt like I needed some kind of piece of paper, or that I needed like something that could prove, I guess mostly to myself, that I was like ready to do it, or I was like qualified and good enough to do it. And I didn't go to like a psychic school, but for me, I did have a few sessions with a mentor who like worked with me to basically just like push me off the deep end and say, just do it.
Yeah.
And I needed that to get myself out of basically out of my head and just into the practice of doing that. But I want to say to whoever's watching this or listening to this, if you also feel that just like that burning and that yearning inside of you that like, oh, I want to do this too, try doing it now.
Yeah. That's what I think. Yeah.
Just like you feel, you're not going to feel that resonance or that pull if that's not for you.
No, yeah. And it's start with friends. It's so fun to read Friends and so lighthearted, and start. And I said this earlier, but you'll know if you're going to stick it in the long run. So it's like, it's not an easy journey. So it's like, you'll know. And if it doesn't feel good after a while, then pause, take a break. Maybe like I've done that. I've stopped taking clients for a little bit and I come back, but like, it's just follow your intuition. Diet.
Funny how that works, hey?
Yeah. I want to say something about the education thing, because I think when I went to college and then I started doing this work, like I was like, oh, I was so anti needing education once I finished, because I was like, man, I just put myself through that. Like, that was a thing. Like, that was an initiation. Like, I don't need any more of that, you know? And it wasn't until I was actually like fully in my business and people I respected started talking about how like you need training and like you need this and you need that, and like how the self-help world is oversaturated with self-taught coaches and healers and mentors. And I had this moment where I'm like, I'm a self-taught healer, coach, or mentor. Like, shit, like I didn't go to school. Like, like
the gig's up. Yeah.
And I had to really be like, no, like you know what you're doing, and whether Berkeley trained you for that in some weird way, or whether it's just your life trained you for that, like your clients are happy, you're doing good work. I had a mentor tell me that when I was hung up. She was like, your clients are happy. Like, you've never had a client say they're not happy. Like, you're doing good work. And I'm like, I'm doing good work. And so like, you can know that if you're coming from the heart, like you're doing good work, and you don't need training to do good work. But I do emphasize like practice, and before you charge a lot, or before like I feel like in the self-help industry, it's kind of catapulted into like, just charge a lot, charge, like it's a self-worth issue, like charge
Yeah. Charge what you're
$10,000.
worth. Yeah.
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 And like, I do value to feel grounded and to be able to handle a bigger income, like practice and just practice and slowly raise your prices. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're doing intuitive work, chances are you're listening to your inner guidance and you'll know. So
Yeah. Well, and it is too, like, always coming from that space of integrity and that intention to like serve the highest and best good
yeah,
of whoever you're working with. You can do that with a piece of paper behind your name. You can do that with like official training and courses and whatever.
yeah,
You can also do that without that.
yes,
And again, it's just a matter of like, does this feel aligned and true
yes,
and in integrity for me?
yeah. And because I was just thinking that I was like, I don't want to make the people feel like who want to go to psychic school that
Yeah.
that's not an option, because I know amazing psychics who went to psychic school and they learned so much there. And so if you
Mhm.
feel like you want to do that, like there's amazing online programs, there's amazing in-person programs, like there's so many amazing tools to develop your intuition and psychic abilities. So if you feel called to have a classroom setting or something more official training, because some archetypes need that,
Yeah.
and I probably would have needed that if I didn't just go through a crazy educational experience. So I think like it's where, like you said, whatever resonates is fine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, like there's a difference between taking a class or signing up for a program from a place of unworthiness or feeling like you're not enough,
Yes.
and going to school or taking a program from just this like desire to enhance and deepen what you already have and what already you feel
Yeah.
worthy with, right? Like
Yes.
you can get a million pieces of paper, but if you don't feel worthy to begin
Yeah.
with,
Oh yeah.
it's not going to make it better.
Agreed. I
Mm-hmm.
so agree. And I always tell my clients or just friends, like, follow that initial feeling of excitement and empowerment, like that
Mm-hmm.
feeling of like, that would be so awesome to do that. And remember that if you felt that towards something, then like it could be a good thing. And it's okay to change your mind. Maybe it isn't in a week or so, but like
Mm-hmm.
if you're trying to make a decision of if you should do a program or not, like remember that first initial feeling. And that's, if you're coming from a place of like, I should do this, then it's maybe take a second to think about it. Yeah. Yeah. Cause I remember like when I was doing, when I branched into coaching, because I do a lot of coaching now, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I realized coaching is an entirely different beast. And I was like, I need a coaching certificate. Like I need to learn how to do this. And it was like, I should and need to. And then I would look at programs and I wouldn't be excited. And I was like, why don't you just get a book on coaching? Like maybe you just start reading about coaching. And that's how I
Mm-hmm.
taught myself to coach, and then coached. And that was fine for me. And maybe I'll do a training later. I don't know. But there was a moment where I was like, I should get a coaching training, and it wasn't aligned. So
Yeah.
mhm.
And sorry, this dog I'm looking after.
Oh yeah.
Go lie down. Go lie down. She just like had her chin was like trying
Oh.
to be pet. So what are some of the practices or tools that you personally use to strengthen your intuition?
Yeah. I well, it's gone through transformation, and it's gone
Mm-hmm.
through I have different ways of strengthening. What has strengthened my psychic abilities and my ability to translate energy in a really clear and specific way has been readings and sessions, and just over and over and over again. But with that said, I could not go through those readings. I could not do what I do without honoring my body and
Mm-hmm.
being in my body and feeling my feelings and sitting with myself and going through everything that comes up in a very, very intentional way. Like if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be grounded and I wouldn't be able to translate energy. So I almost think that if I always tell people, if they want to enhance their intuition, like, get in your body, like, put your hand on your heart and ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? And like, so many of us go through the day with just not knowing where we're at. And I always say step one is get in your body, or you could go the other way where step one could be just practice readings and start knowing how you use your psychic and intuitive abilities. But what really was a game changer for me in my psychic and intuitive practice was learning how to read from the heart. And so what I did, I randomly traded this guide for like a hypnotherapy back in the day when I did trading, which I do not trade anymore. Yeah.
Don't even ask.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore.
He was a hypnotherapist, and it was a very kooky experience, except he took me through this visualization where I saw the world from my heart. And I had this intuition where I was like, whoa, if I do readings from seeing the world from my heart, I can get any information I want. Like, I can get anything. And so I started doing this practice where I would close my eyes, just kind of sink into my body. And I would just do this at like nightly or every other night, like in my nightly meditation routine. And I would just close my eyes and I would just first get into my body, notice all the sensations. And I would start noticing where my eyes were just seeing where they would normally see from. And I just started like lowering them and started imagining them coming from my heart space. And then I imagined expanding my heart. And then I was like, okay, this is the space. If you tap in here with every single session, you're going to be taken care of and it's going to be okay. And so in every session, that's where I go. And that's what took my readings to the next level. And that was like a huge initiation for me. And I'm still learning how to like explain that and like teach my clients how to do that, because it was a very somatic experience going through that hypnotherapy. Like, it was like a realization in that way. But I think that there's a bigger message there, that if you can get in your body and start knowing where your heart is at, and start almost just imagining seeing the world from your heart, like your sphere can just open. And it's what makes you a good intuitive or psychic is it professionally is being able to quiet that controlling aspect and quiet the mind from wanting to be right and wanting to like give it in a way that's going to help them. It's like every session where I get off is where I'm tripped up in my mind. And because psychic information, you have to surrender. You have to.
You totally do. Yeah.
Like, there's no, it does not make sense. It's sometimes I'll see an image of like an orange and I'm like, all I'm seeing is this orange. And I have to tell you that. And she's like, oh my God, my grandfather picked oranges and he just passed away. And I'm like, oh, and then I can go deeper into it, you know, and you just have to trust that information, but that's impossible if you're someone like me who's like over analytical and wants to be perfect. And so it really helped me to just drop into my heart. So to answer your question, there's like a million different things I did. For your audience, I would just say start with the information that resonates. I mean, there's so much information on psychic abilities. You can take some information here, like practice doing a reading, practice dropping into your heart, practice feeling your feelings and knowing where you're at. But I think all roads lead to getting into your body and knowing yourself. And what makes you an awesome intuitive and psychic professionally is being you and being unique. And we cannot do that if we aren't in our bodies and we're not owning who we are in this lifetime, because all information is going to be filtered through your human self. And so like your life experiences, the way you see life, the way you appreciate life, the way what you think about politics, what you think about everything is important when you're doing intuitive and psychic work. And so I do a lot of journaling. I really honor my opinions. I honor like my worldly opinions. Like I'm a huge, I love activism. I love earthly things too. So that's new. Like it's okay to be interested in things, and that's what makes you an amazing intuitive. So
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you brought up that visualization of seeing from your heart. You're actually the first person, like you saying that, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know that anybody else did that in that way. Like, because
Yeah.
before I do a session, I actually like, I use my mind's eye
Yes.
to pull my mind's eye into my heart.
Yeah.
And I imagine that it's like an eyeball that's
Yeah,
like
me too. Yeah.
looking out of my heart. But like,
Yeah.
that's how I center myself at the beginning, is to like just trace it down, almost like it's going on like an elevator, that
Yeah.
I'm just like pulling it down into my heart. And then it takes a while. It's almost like going into like a dark movie theater, and it takes
Yes.
the eye a while to adjust to like its new place.
Yes.
So like it goes from here, and then it's almost like I imagine it, or feel it blinking a few times
Yes.
as it's like
Yes.
adjusting to this new perspective and this new kind of like lighting. And then that's when I'm doing the reading, I'm just imagining that eye wide open for the whole
Yes.
time, but
Yes.
shining out of my heart.
Me too.
Yeah.
100%.
And I'm
And
like, I didn't know anybody else did that. That's
oh
so
yeah,
cool.
I love it. Yeah. And this is what I love. Okay, so if you're doing want to do psychic and intuitive work, make friends with psychic and intuitives, because you're going to, I don't have many, but like, and I'm just starting to build my relationships, but like, it can be a very lonely experience. And what can validate you so much is that, like, literally what we just said, like, we do the same thing. Like, and that's,
Who knew?
who knew? That's like, we're just following our guidance. And that shows you like, this is universal. This is collective. There's people doing exactly what you're doing and seeing exactly what you're seeing. Maybe they explain it a little differently. You explained it exactly what I do, but like, that's what's amazing. And that's what constantly blows my mind, is that like, we see similar things, and that place that we go to is real. And when you're doing it alone, like, you don't know that for sure.
Really quickly, I just want to touch on, because when you were saying that, I felt like a ping of, I guess, resistance or fear, not personally, but I guess collectively, that like, going back to that idea of competition and comparison, like, can I or should I make friends with other psychics and intuitives when like we're in the same business? And like, how do you navigate that, and how do you like be okay with having friends who are also psychic and not feeling like you're not enough, or you're less than, or getting that like competitive feeling?
Yeah, I have so much to say on this. My whole purpose for doing anything is because I want to feel good. And I think that that's for everyone. We all want to feel good. And being competitive and afraid that they're going to take my clients or judging them, and I did a lot of that in the beginning, it did not make me feel good. And it made me feel afraid, and it made me feel all these things. And simultaneously, I was super lonely. And then I made a friend with a psychic, and we talked on the phone for like 3 hours. And I realized that there is nothing better than coming together with another woman who is doing similar work as you're doing. Like, there's no better feeling. And I can say that too with meeting my friend Jillian, like our friend Jillian.
Yeah.
Like, her and I do very similar work in the business field. And it was like, coming together is like, it's like 10 times better than meeting like a romantic lover. Cause you're like, this is it. Like, this is what we're doing. And that feeling trumps being jealous and being competitive. And I had another revelation around feeling competitive and jealousy around when my ex-partner got a new partner. And I just got sick to my stomach. I imagined them getting married and having kids and me having to watch it. And it just made me sick. And I was like, I got this message, like, just imagine him having a way better life than you're ever going to have. Like, imagine him having the kids and the home and like this beautiful life, and just imagine you wanting it for him. And I genuinely started doing that, and I genuinely started wanting it for him. Like, I wanted a better life for him that I wanted for myself. And in an odd way, it empowered me, and it made me feel so good to want something more for someone else than I wanted for myself. And that if I'm ever feeling jealousy or competitive, like, I'll look at that person and I'll be like, I wish you all the clients. Like, I wish you Oprah. I want you to be Oprah's psychic. Like,
yeah.
And I start getting excited for them. And in a weird way, it's like, it just heals me. It just feels better. And like I said, I'm all about feeling better. But with that said, I honor when I feel jealous, and I honor when I feel competitive, and it's normal. And I sit with that too. And I allow myself to feel that too. So that's how I deal with it. And it's all about what makes you feel good. And it feels really good to hold each other in our power and to do this together. And with that said, like, the whole client thing is that we only have a certain bandwidth for clients. Like, we can only take so many, and it's not that many, because psychic work is a lot. I don't know how psychics do so much, like, or intuitives do like 10 clients a day. I do not know. No, me neither. No. Like, at all. And so there's like, I don't know how many billion people on the planet, but there's a lot. And I can only take like a few clients a week. So that's not that many. It's like 12 clients a month. So, I mean, I think we all can. I refer clients to other psychics all the time. That's an amazing healing thing too. And like, psychics do different kind of psychic work. And yeah, like, it's so healing to just hold your colleagues up. Like, I love it. So.
Me too. And even not on a professional level, but like when learning it, to learn in, like, looking back on my own journey, I would have loved to just be with other people learning, like giving practice readings to people who are also giving practice readings.
Yes.
And to just like, I think that builds the muscles quicker and stronger than just like doing it on your own and like, am I doing this right? Or like, what's going on? Just having some kind of a community to like connect with and support and feel supported by. There's nothing like it in the world.
Yeah, it's the best feeling. It's literally, when my friend Jillian and I went to Mexico, we were like, I would have paid like $20,000 to do this. I've done like so many coaching things, so many things. And I'm like, just talking with someone who does the work that you do, it can catapult you. It's amazing. So.
Totally. Mm-hmm. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming to chat with me and for sharing everything you did. I feel like just so energized and so empowered after speaking with you. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to like form a psychic posse after I get off the phone with you.
I was going to say that. I want to. We need to. Yeah.
Totally. You can be the first member in my psychic posse.
Yes.
Just so you know you're in.
I would love to be in it.
And if people are wanting to learn more about your work and find you online, where's the best place for them to do that?
Okay, so you can head to my website. That's where you can book a session or see like the workshops or retreats or mentorship programs that I have. And that's anastasiaholland.com. And then I am a huge fan of Instagram. I post there daily and I love to write. So I write a lot there. And that's where you can get to know me a lot more personally. And that's just Anastasia Holland as well. And then I'm Anastasia Holland on like all other social media too. So.
And we'll put the links below the video and the audio. Yeah. And I just want to say to anyone who is tuning in, go follow Anna on Instagram. It's like the realest, I'm not going to say rawest because it doesn't feel like painful raw, but it just feels so open and candid and heart-filled and relatable. I love your Instagram account.
Oh, thank you.
Everyone should follow you. Well, thank you again. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, you too. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.